You've been fighting yourself every morning for years. The alarm goes off, the internal negotiation starts, and you burn through half your energy before your feet hit the floor. That daily war has a design flaw baked into it. And the flaw has nothing to do with discipline. Chances are, the reason you're struggling is that you never actually decided. You just kept preferring. There's a difference between deciding and preferring that most people never notice. Preferring sounds like, I'd like to wake up earlier. Deciding sounds like, I wake up at 6. One is a wish, the other is an identity statement, and your brain treats those two sentences as completely different instructions. When you prefer something, your brain files it under optional. It stays in the same category as I'd like to visit Japan someday, or I should really learn guitar. Nice ideas, low priority, zero urgency. Your behavior doesn't shift because there's nothing to shift toward. The instruction is too soft to reorganize anything. A real decision operates differently. It closes a door. The word itself comes from the Latin decidere, meaning to cut off. When you decide, you're cutting away every other option. You're telling your brain this question is answered, filed, done. Stop deliberating. And the moment that happens, something strange follows. The internal negotiation stops. Think about the last time you booked a non-refundable flight. Before you clicked purchase, there was noise. Should I go? Can I afford it? Is this the right week? The moment the confirmation email arrived, all of that evaporated. You started packing, you checked the weather at your destination, you told your friends. Your behavior reorganized around the decision instantly, and you didn't need an ounce of willpower to do it. The decision deleted the alternative, and your brain moved on to execution. This is the mechanism that willpower-based approaches completely miss. Willpower assumes the decision is still open. Every time you use willpower, you're essentially redeciding. Should I go to the gym? Should I eat this? Should I wake up now? Each question reopens the case. Each reopening costs energy, and each expenditure of energy makes the next reopening more likely to go the other way. So why do some decisions stick instantly while others dissolve by Thursday? The answer lives in something researchers call identity-behavior alignment. When a decision aligns with how you see yourself, your brain executes it automatically. When it conflicts with your self-image, every action requires force. A person who sees themselves as a smoker trying to quit is fighting their own identity with every resisted cigarette. A person who decided they're a non-smoker just doesn't smoke. The behavior follows the label, and the label was set by one moment of genuine decision. This works because your brain is running a prediction engine every waking second. It asks one question on a loop: given who I am, what would I do right now? Every answer comes from your stored self-concept. Change the self-concept, and the predictions change. The predictions change, and the behavior follows without negotiation. You've experienced this already, even if you didn't frame it this way. Remember the moment you decided to leave a job, a relationship, a city. There was probably a long period of agonizing beforehand. Weeks, maybe months. But the moment you actually decided, truly decided, no takebacks, a weight lifted, you felt lighter, calmer. Your friends probably noticed before you said anything. Your posture changed. Your patience with the old situation evaporated overnight. That shift happened because your brain stopped allocating resources to the deliberation. Decision made, file closed, energy redirected. The problem most people run into is they confuse declaration with decision. They announce goals on January 1st. They tell their friends. They buy the running shoes. All of that feels like deciding. But underneath, the case is still open. They're waiting to see how they feel on day 4. They've left themselves an escape hatch, and their brain found it immediately. A genuine decision has a specific texture to it. There's a finality. You can feel it in your chest like a lock clicking shut. The internal chatter about whether you should goes quiet. You stop researching alternatives. You stop asking other people what they think. The question is settled, and the only remaining questions are logistical: how and when, never if. Military psychologists have studied this in extreme environments. Soldiers who perform well under fire share a trait. They make decisions quickly and treat them as final. The ones who freeze are still deliberating. Their brains are running cost-benefit analyses while bullets fly overhead. Speed of commitment, measured in controlled settings, predicts performance better than physical fitness or technical skill. The same pattern shows up in surgical teams. Surgeons who decide on an approach and commit outperform those who second-guess mid-procedure. The second-guessing itself introduces errors because the brain is splitting resources between executing the current plan and evaluating an alternative one. Half your processing power on the task, half on the question of whether it's the right task. The math guarantees worse outcomes. So the question becomes, can you manufacture a real decision, or does it have to happen to you? The honest answer is somewhere in the middle. You can create conditions that make genuine decisions more likely. One of those conditions is raising the cost of reversal. The non-refundable flight works because retreat is expensive. Telling 20 people about your commitment works because social consequences make the escape hatch heavier. Throwing away every cigarette in your house works because the friction of reversal buys you time to remember you already decided. But there's a deeper lever. The most durable decisions happen when you connect the choice to something you already believe about yourself. If you value being someone who keeps their word, frame the decision as a promise. If you value competence, frame it as a skill commitment. If you value independence, frame it as refusing to be controlled by a craving or a habit. The framing matters because it hooks the decision into existing identity architecture. The brain already has infrastructure for protecting those beliefs. You're borrowing that infrastructure for a new purpose. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. This mechanism is value neutral. It works for productive decisions and destructive ones. A person who decides they're a failure will generate failure-consistent behavior just as automatically as someone who decides they're disciplined generates disciplined behavior. The prediction engine doesn't judge. It just pattern matches against the stored identity and produces the corresponding output, which means every unexamined belief you hold about yourself is a decision you made without realizing it, and your behavior has been following that decision faithfully ever since. That old journal entry where you wrote something optimistic and ambitious, the handwriting is yours, but the gap between that person and the one reading it now was built by thousands of tiny identity decisions you never consciously made. Each small retreat, each "I'm just not that kind of person," each quiet acceptance of a limitation that was really just a preference masquerading as a fact. The reversal works the same way. One real decision, backed by finality, connected to identity, with the escape hatch welded shut, reorganizes behavior faster than 6 months of grinding discipline. Because discipline is a resource you spend. A decision is an instruction your brain follows for free. Think about that the next time the alarm goes off and the negotiation starts. The negotiation itself is the proof that you haven't decided yet. You've preferred. And preferences dissolve under pressure because they were never load-bearing to begin with. The difference between people who transform and people who oscillate comes down to one mechanical distinction. The oscillators reopen the case every morning. The transformers close it once, and their brain, that tireless prediction engine, has been executing the verdict ever since. No willpower required, no motivation, no inspirational quotes taped to the bathroom mirror. Just a closed case and a brain that does what it's told. You already own the mechanism. You've used it 100 times for decisions you don't even think about anymore. The question worth sitting with is this: what have you been preferring that you could, right now, in this moment, actually decide?